So a lot of you could deduce the financial lessons from Mr. Potter and It's a Wonderful Life that you wouldn't want to emulate. But if you thought about those that you would, let's discuss. So I could talk about the movie It's a Wonderful Life for days. I've talked about it in these commentaries a number of times, and watching it the other day, I wanted to distill and create a piece of just lessons that can be gleaned from It's a Wonderful Life. Of course, this could be a 30, 60 minute, half-day talk. We're gonna try to do this in 6 minutes. Point number one, don't let fear drive you into solely living for tomorrow. Right after Peter Bailey, George Bailey's dad, dies, they're talking about what they're gonna do with the savings and loan. And Potter's coming from the attitude, probably for some other reasons as well, hey, people need to wait to have these things. People should wait to do this. They shouldn't have a home like this. George Bailey jumps in and says, wait for what? Until their kids have all grown up and left them, until they're too old, so old and broken down that they can't, and kind of trails off. And so point number one, particularly as I see some people struggle with the planning, is, hey, don't forget to live today. Make sure that you're defining your plan that enables you to certainly achieve your goals of tomorrow, but helps explain to you and define and create a framework for how you can live your best life today. That's one of the greatest gifts I think we can get to people. We often talk about destinations, but one of the great part about defining a destination is it so helps you live the life that you want to live today. Second, don't panic. Find a partner and keep calm. So of course, the scene you could unpack at length is the run on the bank scene. And George Bailey rushes back to the savings and loan instead of going on his honeymoon. And there's just a lot of things to unpack. The first thing is, again, just how calm he stays. So first words to the group are, just remember this thing isn't as black as it appears. It's this line I've found myself telling people time and time again in different ways, from the '08 crash to all the different corrections that have transpired. Doesn't mean things aren't real. Doesn't mean there aren't going to be scary times, but they're not as black as they seem, and they can be survived. Point number two is know your worth. One of the gentlemen rushes in and says, hey, Potter, I'll buy everything 50 cents on the dollar, and the mob is ready to sell everything out just like that. Again, know your worth. Know the worth of what you hold. Hopefully you didn't just buy it with some theoretical dreams of riches. You invested in things because they had an intrinsic value that you had some awareness of. That's certainly how we like to operate here. And that you're not just going to give away that value at any cost at any time. Third, he says, now we can get through this, but we've got to stick together. And I would add to that, stick to the plan. A great way, and really what he goes on to really define in his own way, is he's talking about your money's in this person's house. Think about the community and what would happen if there wasn't a place like this to be able to come to, is what is the bigger picture? When you map out that bigger picture, when you've taken the time to formally go through, define those goals, speak them out to someone else, rank them, put color around them. They're very difficult to give up on. And when you have that, when the waves are crashing around you, when the boat feels like it's going to go under, it's that belief, that desire to hit that destination that's going to keep you on track, that's going to keep you from panicking and jumping out of the boat. Point number three is actually a positive from Potter, but also George Bailey, which is stay liquid and don't overextend yourself. Not every investment you have needs to be exciting all the time. I think that's a big lesson that people need to understand, because there are going to become times that are scary, or when an opportunity does present itself. And if you're not in a position to strike, you're not going to be able to get to take advantage of that opportunity. You may not make it at all. So if you look at that moment again around the bank scene, for George Bailey, it was just about saving something that was beloved, a big purpose for him, because he had some cash on hand. Cash immediately was about to get spent on his honeymoon, but cash on hand. He was ready for what may have been, wasn't planning on putting this out on even more debt or leverage. So too Potter, again, for all that he had, was ready with cash on hand. So not only do you need to keep calm like Potter and George Bailey do, you need to stay liquid. You need to have some things to be able to help you through those darkest of times. Greed, of course, is what Potter's probably known best for. We write about this in the article below. Won't get into greed as a huge concept, but where we see greed leaking in now is we've been on a tremendous run for the stock market, 12 years. Things like cryptos have come in to people's lexicon. Sectors like tech are so popular. just be careful, again, about getting tempted into greed. The articles below show those people who have tried to chase things and how badly many of them have been hurt. We don't want to see you leak into that. Where we see it come in is people who are saying, I'm not going to put my time into a plan. I'm going to study crypto or day trading, or I'm going to focus on this or that. That's kind of a code for, hey, I just think I can make so much money that I can make a plan irrelevant. Maybe, but to be honest, I kind of doubt it. You're going to need to have that balance, again, between certainly great investments, a great career, but also a great plan. Lastly, money is important, but don't forget your purpose. So I'm sitting there looking at that scene between George Bailey and Potter when he's offering him a job. For those of you who don't remember this scene, he offered him basically 25 years worth of his compensation at his current rate over the next 3 years. It was a tremendous opportunity. I dare say that very few of us would have the ability to say no to that. And yet George does. Why? He hasn't forgotten his purpose. So yeah, money is important, but as we alluded to earlier, why are you saving? What are you trying to drive for? Have you defined it? Of course, you know your family is important. Of course, you know you're going to need to retire or slow down at some point. But have you really gotten granular with that? Have you really put color to it? If you haven't, you're likely to strike on an emotional, whether it's the frightening scene of the bank run or the tremendous opportunity that Potter was giving George Bailey financially, and again, miss the true purpose that you have for you and your family. In summary, set your own goals and benchmarks, understand why they're there, and as the movie wraps up, no man's a failure who has friends. You have one in us here. We wish you all a Merry Christmas.